Welcome back to the Slade Ham experiment. Or welcome, if it's your first time. I've decided to go back to my roots. This audio format is better than video, I think, because it leaves me room for my imagination. When I was a kid, driving back and forth to Houston, starting out doing stand-up comedy, my nights were spent listening to George Norrie and Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM. I used to believe they broadcast it from an underground bunker or a trailer somewhere out in the middle of the Canyonlands, which was way cooler than seeing some old dude sitting in his living room. It was dark and spooky, at least in my head. I think a lot about artistic mediums and their limitations. Film has its limitations, so does music. Comedy has to be funny, poetry needs rhythm, and while audio means I don't have all the tools of video, it also means no distractions, unless I want them. Yeah, I should have warned you. Right now, I think we're in a weird time for art. AI images and videos, and worse, the onslaught of things written by computers but presented by humans as their own. A lot of people are leaning into AI to write things, and you can feel it. If you don't believe me, pick a subreddit and just start reading. You need a flawed human being behind the words to give them meaning, and especially in storytelling and comedy. I even see a lot of people asking AI to write things in their voice. They don't think anyone can tell, but we can. And this shouldn't bother me as much as it does. My job is simply to not be like that. My job's to make what I make in my own way. Hard stop. And yet I remain fascinated and perplexed by it. But those are future stories to explore here. Let me give a brief primer for anybody new to me. I've been doing stand-up comedy a long time. 25 years since I first went on stage at GK's Comedy Club in Beaumont, Texas. That, by the way, is the little southeast Texas town I'm from. I owned a comedy club there for a while called Comedy Texas in the first half of the 2000s. And I won't spend too much time on that because I'm writing a lot about it in the first part of my book. And one of the elements I think of reviving this podcast feed is to maybe test read some of those early chapters on future episodes. I've written one book already, a collection of stories from my years on the road at that time that I compiled between 2005 and 2010, mainly writing for a lit site called The Nervous Breakdown and a website you might have heard of called MySpace. At the time, I was in the top 25 comedy blogs posted in the world. Then I self-published the book in 2018, but that's a whole different story as well. In 2010, I helped invent podcasting. We launched the Whiskey Brothers and ultimately did 1,167 episodes over 14 years. And in those early years, we frequently sat next to Marin and Rogan and Carolla on the comedy charts. I got screenshots. But the Whiskey Brothers is a different story. I've filmed several comedy specials in my career, one with the Whiskey Brothers, and this was, like many things I've done, premature. I was just early. This was years before Mark Norman had the forethought to post a free special on YouTube. So I spent the entire 2010s making Whiskey Brother things and traveling the world. And I don't know my official country count anymore, but I'm somewhere in the mid-60s. With a few small exceptions, I spent that whole decade very single in order to give myself the space to explore. That was important. If you don't know what you're looking for, it can take you a long time to find it. I am not a herd animal. If the mass zigs, I want to zag. This is in my DNA, and I don't know why. I recognize the importance of our communal nature, especially in the arts, but man, something inside me is fundamentally after a different experience than the one everyone else is having. I'm still trying to get to the source of that. And I suppose that search is a different story. I've never had an interest in acting. My brief move to Los Angeles in the 2000s ended mercifully early. I don't think my options at that point would have led me to happiness. I know me. I do have colleagues who've spent their lives in that race, good friends. Some of them popped and became totally different people. Others got TV pilots that went nowhere. Most of them, especially the ones who missed what they were aiming at, are very unhappy people. I, on the other hand, made some deliberate efforts to use comedy to go see the world. That's what I've done. And I would still make many of the exact same choices if I got a do-over. There are too many incomparable experiences that I would lose in my attempt to play a different game. Now, the instinct to explore was correct. When you chase something else, you get something else. So I can only speak from that path. I consider it a life well lived thus far. So why this podcast? First, I need a place to think out loud, and I want to do it without all the frills. I think about how quickly I lose my appetite at a restaurant when I consider having to film my food. Now, audio for this for sure. I want to explore some things, tell some stories, and get back to talking to you guys about how we make sense of this ridiculous world we've all landed in. The rest of this episode is just the story. It happened earlier this week on my way back from Galveston. And to be honest, I've changed very little of this, just eliminated a few things. Let me introduce you to Dale. Man, this was lucky, Dale says, sliding my backpack into the back seat. He's a big old boy, maybe 50, with a faded tribal tattoo visible beneath his sleeve and beads of 8 a.m. sweat on his neck. Somebody just canceled on me, and I was right there at the light when you requested your ride. He points at the intersection on our way out of the port of Galveston. I try to keep this car moving. That's the only way I make money. See those guys? Dale says, pointing to several Middle Eastern men smoking cigarettes against a bank of black SUVs. They're Uber too, but they just sit here and smoke and wait for a call. There ain't no money in that, he says. Plus, they're all illegals anyway. This is my Uber driver 90% of the time. Dale rattles off Uber driving strategies for another 4 minutes before realizing I haven't said anything yet, so he pauses. It lasts for about 7 seconds. So Slade, huh? That's an interesting name. I didn't pick it, I tell him. They just give it to you on your birthday. My son's about to have his first kid. He's 30. They're looking for names right now. They picked Nadine because they thought it was going to be a girl, but nuh-uh. Now they got to find a new name. Slade's a pretty cool one. I might suggest it. I'm just glad it's a boy, though, so at least we can roughhouse. I wouldn't know what to do with a girl. It's easy, I said. I have a bunch of nieces. You just let them paint your fingernails and put bows in your hair, and then you drink some fake tea. You can't tell me you don't like a good tea party, Dale. That boy mine's a funny one, I tell you. Dale moves into a different story. We were eating dinner down here on the island the other day, and they had some stickers in the gift shop. I sure do appreciate a restaurant with a good gift shop, I say, trying to participate. So my son bought a couple, but he wouldn't show them to me. Said it was a surprise. Dale takes a pull off his vape and sends a cloud of smoke out the window. I wonder to myself if the other cars think we've just elected a new pope. 2 days later, I come outside and there's a sticker on the back of my car that says BOI. And it's on it, get this, a Texas-shaped rainbow flag. Now, I know BOI stands for Born on the Island, and I was. Hell, I put a sticker on my car that says Born on the Island, gonna die on the island, don't never want to leave the island. But damn, son, don't put a pride sticker on me. Just keep that up in New York City where I ain't gotta see it. I'm vocal about my disdain for small talk with strangers, but this kind of conversation I can't help but have. Have you ever been to New York? No, Dale says. I went to Florida once when I was a kid. It's all pretty much the same. A little bluer water. My other son said I should leave the sticker on. The boy said, ain't nobody gonna think you got your gun in the car with that sticker, Dad. They'll think you got hummus or dildos or something. Then, as if on cue, a truck pulls in front of us with a back window full of its own stickers that say, come and take it, and I'll die for the Second Amendment. It's got 3 of the exact same Canon stickers side by side. Maybe they're the guy's children. See that? Dale asks, pointing at the truck. What do you think's in that guy's truck? Not a diploma, I say. Anyway, I'm glad it's a grandson, Dale says, bringing it back. That way, if he needs to pee while we're fishing, I can just tell him to go behind a tree. Ain't gotta hand him a cup or nothing. And with that opening, I steer the conversation to saltwater fishing for the rest of the ride. So, Dale's grandson, probably named Slade. This is why it's important to travel. If Dale really did suggest my name to your dad, and you're listening to this as an adult, assuming the world hasn't blown up yet, know this. I don't think your grandpa had any actual hate in his heart. I just don't think he's ever been anywhere but Galveston in Florida, and you can only do so much with that, kid. And just between me and you, I do think he'd 100% share his Coors Light if he ever met a real gay dude or an immigrant in the wild. People's rhetoric rarely matches their actions. The legacy of these names is in your hands now, kid. Both mine and Dale's. Thanks for listening to the Slade Ham Experiment. I'm duty bound by the laws of the internet to remind you that you can follow me on all the social media platforms. Just search Slade Ham, S-L-A-D-E. I'm the only one. There's a full special on YouTube for free. There's a book. And there's a Kickstarter running right now if you'd like to join me on my new special. We're taping in November and there's still time for you to join the campaign. Till then, be good to yourself. I'll see you on a future episode.